Happy last day, y'all. Today we're going to talk again about hip openers, which is an area that I need lots of work on. Mine are not very open, and it causes some discomfort when I try to practice hip opening, so I tend to avoid it, but I'm trying to learn not to do that. So doing this with you guys is helping me also, so I appreciate it. So the first warm-up pose that we're gonna do is called Happy Baby. And it's really funny because of the way it looks, but it's such a great stretch. And you know, clearly it's not something that I like to do in front of people very much because it's just awkward. But you know what, you just do it. So anyway, you're gonna lie on your back. And if you can, you lift your legs up and you grab your feet. And this is it, it's Happy Baby. And another thing that you can do when you're in this shape is to try to rock back and forth. And you're actively pressing down on your feet, right? And this is about as far down as I can go. Obviously, if you don't have as much range of motion, you can just grab your legs and sit in this position. You don't have to grab your feet. You can just grab the back of your thighs, I guess. And you know, you can rock around this way. And then as you get more flexible and you move into the stretch, you know, obviously you can take it further. And you just roll around and rock around for a few seconds. You can also pull your legs in for reclined butterfly, I guess is what you could call this. Okay, and then we're going to move on to seated butterfly, like I showed you the other day when we did the previous hip opening moves. So this is called butterfly, and Dee did a really good job of showing you guys how you start with your legs further out and lean forward, and then as you warm up, you can bring your legs closer, which is great. And so I just start in this position and I gently press my knees out at the same time as I'm leaning forward to try to get openness in my hip area. Now, another shape that you can do is called frog pose. And this is one where a lot of the yogi teachers that I have on Instagram say that you should do like 5 minutes a day. And I don't know about you, but I can barely make 5 minutes a day to do any kind of stretching. But, you know, we are trying to show you some things that you can do. So I don't know if you can see from this direction, and I'll turn to the side in a minute, but this is called frog pose. Okay, and you can see, and when you try to do this one, you'll feel it too. It really opens the hips. Okay, so basically you just try to go down as far as you can and stretch out your arms at the same time. And that's about my limit, okay? And then this one kind of leads into straddle split. I'll show you from the side what this looks like too. So you wanna try to get your legs perpendicular, and then you want to just put your chest down if possible. Now, some of you may not be able to do that initially, and that's okay. You know, you just try to do what you can with your range of motion. And even if you start with them just a little bit apart, right? And also if you send your butt back, that's a really good stretch as well while you're in this position. And then, if you can come down on your chest and stretch out like this, which is kind of a puppy pose actually, which we talked about yesterday. Great stretch as well. So from there, we're gonna move into straddle splits. One of the ways that I found out that I get the most out of this stretch is when and bear with me, this is awkward, but when I get on my back, put my legs up the wall. You know, legs up the wall in and of itself is great. But if you just let gravity take your legs down into straddle as far as they'll go. And then you just stay in this position for a
few seconds, a minute, I don't know, 3 minutes, whatever you have. This is a great hip opener. Feels awesome. So instead of trying to press yourself into this position on the floor, which I'll show you in a second, this just allows gravity to do it. And I feel like it might not be quite as intense, but you can make it as intense as you want to. And you just hold that for a couple seconds. I also like to turn around and face the wall, and this is after I've warmed up for a little while. And then I just try to press myself into the wall. And you have to be really careful here because you get a really, like a strong pull on the inside of your thighs. And then I just try to keep my back as straight as possible. And you can flex your feet, point your feet, flex your feet, point your feet, and just lean into this. And again, hold this position for, 30 seconds, however long. Okay, and then you can move on to working your straddle split this way. And you'll see I can't get really wide with it. I'm so envious of people who can do what we call a pancake split, who can just lay their bodies flat out on the floor in this position. It's incredible. And again, I try to tell myself, Shannon, if you just practice this, you might could do a pancake split. But obviously, there are other things like handstands that I prefer to practice. Anyway, again, with this, you can actively press into this and try to pull yourself down as far as possible. But I just like to lean into it, and you just kind of sit here in this position as well. And again, this is a really intense stretch in this area. So be careful. You don't want to push it too far without having warmed up. And attempting to touch my head to the floor.